evening. I am at a dinner table with my niece and nephew, who we will just call my nibblings. And my nibblings have just moved from Arizona to California. And 3 adults are sitting with them at the dinner table. And little do we know it, we're just digging into our food, and what happens but an earthquake. Now, 2 nibblings from Arizona do not yet know what this means. But when they look to the adults around them, neither do we. One of us gets up from the table and runs out the door. The next of us pretends that it's not even happening, calmly eating their food as if the house was not shaking. And the third, noticing the other 2, reaches for their cell phone to ask, "What do you do in an earthquake?" Trying to determine who is right and who is wrong. Now, the nibblings are completely confused by these adults. How are they supposed to respond? And meanwhile, the house is shaking. Its foundations are quaking and crumbling. And this scenario, of course, is as much as it is real, is symbolic. My own work in conflict engagement and restorative practices tells me that the work of engagement is to notice the house is shaking and to build your capacities to respond collectively. Now, we show up into communities with long comet tales of stories. Each of us shows up packed with ancestors, multi-generational ways of being, ways of surviving in a world that was not meant to sustain us. And we come to church where we all gather our comet tales together and craft budgets. We come and instantly reveal all the ways we have learned to survive this world. But we also come because we'd like to learn a new way. Now, trauma research has taught us something about why we react the ways we do. We have learned that our brain is fascinating. We know that when information comes in, it moves from the back to the front, which is to say, it first tells us, can I survive this? Before we make meaning of it. And not only do we do that within ourselves, but we do that among ourselves. So the emotion and survival response that I show you is contagious. And we are both shaped by each other's responses to what's changing, and we have the capacity to shape in response. So we can be up-regulated by each other and also down-regulated by one another. We are shaped by the community. So you are at the table with me and my nibblings. Something shakes the house, the crumbling foundation, and maybe you are in flight. I cannot survive this, I'm gone. Maybe you are in fight. I can only survive this if I know who is right about how we will survive this. Or freeze. I actually cannot take this in. I will disconnect to survive. Or flock. I'm just going to do what the majority of the people at the dinner table do. And here is what we do in community. Now, this is a message that I have given congregations in conflict, which you are not, I hear. It is also a message I give congregations in interim, which you are not no longer, I hear. So why on earth would I give you this message right now? And it's this, that we live in an interim world. We live in a world that is being hospiced. Now, when we are living in an interim world, and a world that is in hospice, we have spiritual tasks at hand, capacities we must be developing on our own and with each other to make it what it can be. Now, Vanessa de Oliveira Andreotti is a fabulous scholar and a member of Gesturing Towards Decolonial Futures, a radical collective of indigenous leaders from across multiple continents doing educational experiments on what would it take to make a people ready for the kinds of work that we have to do in the world today. Here is what they say: the thing that is crumbling is our denial of the problem. They mention 4 denials. Radical unsustainability. We know if we keep doing what we are doing, we are fundamentally changing and depleting the world we love. Violence, systemic violence, that every decision we are making right now, just as it is beautiful, the beauty of the clothes you are wearing, the fabulousness of our technology are rooted in violence here and abroad. The computer I used to write the sermon I am telling you about justice was mined from materials all over the planet. And to reckon with the fact that I am telling you something worth hearing while doing it on something that undermines the very thing I'm telling you about is part of the capacity building ahead of us. Number 3, radical entanglement, which is something we fundamentally know, that this world is interdependent and interconnected, and the false separation of us to everything else is the wound we are reckoning with. And lastly, the 4th denial is the enormity of the wicked problem we face, that no simple, certain solution will fix it without creating more problems. So they offer us, these indigenous leaders, a metaphor. The metaphor is this: the house is collapsing around us. Where we have been fooled is to believe that the collapse is on your back alone. And you feel that collapse, that systemic, historical, cultural, personal falling. And the only thing we have been given by modernity is a walking stick called certainty. And it's bull-ish. Do we have kids in the room? I have my child in the room. That's the only child in the room. It's bullshit. And so here is this move that is being made. We each, they say, are walking with the weight. The task ahead of each of us is to build the capacity to take it off our backs. Hoist it over our shoulders, place it in front of us with loving eyes, and then place it down together and compost it. And to compost that much stuff requires, they say, that you have the stomach to not throw up, throw a tantrum, or throw in the towel. You have to find joy in bringing it to the center of your communal and individual life. So earthquakes and compost piles, what does that have to do with the fact that Marcus is not here, even though he keeps trying to be here? What does it mean for how we show up for a new start? Well, first, earthquakes and fault lines and compost piles have something to say about anything being new at all. First, we are always in motion, carrying the ancestors and ecologies with us. We are not separate from it. None of it's new. It's all composted. And you are coming together to practice being with it. But also, earthquakes and compost piles are reminding you where your attention should be, especially at the start of a brand new relationship. And it should not be where we think things are settled and certain. Our attention here at this precipice of a new era of your congregation is this possibility of transformation. To do the work that you've been in motion with, as well as the work everywhere in us and beyond us that needs deep transformation. So here we are. You have been tasked with your individual capacity building to show up to the earthquake, to move that house of complexity from crushing your individual back and to hold it together. Now, it's an interesting first date conversation to show up with your compost heap at the precipice of a new ministry. But herein lies the gift of today's false start. The gift of this false start is that you get to hold the glorious truth of its decay and transformation right at the beginning. When I was younger, my father and I were repairing our relationship after my parents' divorce. And he had the brilliant idea, as fathers do in the 90s, to take us on a road trip to all the places in California that are not cool to go to. Every rest stop with a historic marker. Every small picnic bench, because surely we had always been on our way to Yosemite. We never stopped at these forgotten places. And so we did. And on this road trip, we stopped at the Great Fault Line of Mammoth Lakes. And we walked to this fault line, and as a child, I remember looking over the edge and asking my dad, who was an engineer, "Dad, how deep is it?" Well, it's really deep, really deep. And my dad walked back from the edge to take care of our picnic table. But as a child, I leaned down, got my belly on the ground, and looked over that dark, beautiful edge in wonder. How do you stay alive in an earthquake? May this ministry with Marcus be one: bellies to the ground, hands in the compost, and may you be transformed from the very beginning. Amen.